So welcome to Dynasty Self Help, a podcast helping you self-actualize in the hobby of Dynasty Fantasy Football, a show that Skip Bayless would certainly make fun of if he knew we existed. I'm Kyle LaPointe, downloading my thoughts to you from Fort Worth, Texas, and joining us from State College, Pennsylvania is my co-host, Jeremy Schwob. How are you now?
I'm doing all right. I'm entering Guys Weekend for the first time. Me and my puppy Monty are hanging out this weekend while the fiance is traveling for the first time since we've had him for about 6 months. So I've got the stay-at-home dad role this weekend. I'm pretty excited about it, but we actually have a fill-in female tonight for the podcast tonight.
Yeah, I noticed there's a new guest on the couch next to me. Can you introduce me?
I can. So we have a really exciting, wonderful guest today. So we have Katie Flower, singular, not Flowers. Anyone who says Katie Flowers, I've actually heard Kyle say it.
Come on.
But anyway, Katie is from the UTH podcast, the Under the Helmet podcast with Chad Parsons. She's also a contributor to the site. You may know her more colloquial. I'm not even.
You did that in warm-ups.
Yeah, I know. I didn't do my my unique New York before we started going. But anyway, she's known more so maybe as the diva of Dynasty or of Devi. Man, I am struggling. I'm just gonna run it back. Oh God! All right, good thing we're not live. Okay, so we have Katie Flower tonight, singular, of the UTH podcast, the Under the Helmet podcast with Chad Parsons. She also contributes to the site, and you may know her as the diva of Devi. So we're going to talk Devi tonight. You can follow her at ff_Skylar399. Katie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here. And it's really great to see you in person for the first time. We get to chat a little bit on Twitter from time to time. So thank you all for the invite.
Well, we're very excited to have you. We talked about it kind of pre-show, but we've had a few kind of a good luck run of guests that wanted to jump on real quick. And so some of the names ended up on our list that we didn't even anticipate would be on our show. But you're one of the names that was mentioned early on. I've been following you and I listened to the UTH podcast religiously, and I just love it. And, I like the banter between you and Chad. It's a lot of intelligence there in one little podcast. So for us and for what we're talking about right now, it's an extremely good fit, as we spent some time last week talking about the Dynasty COVID related issues that could be coming. Like, how do we cope with COVID issues, in the NFL and in Dynasty League football? And we actually broached some of the topics about what about the college ranks? And it really sparked our brain to go into the Devi side of things and how COVID's really affecting Devi. So I think your help in this situation and letting us talk through that is going to be magnificent.
Glad to help any way that I can. And, I didn't realize ahead of time that Jeremy is is a psychology major?
Yeah, so I have a master's in clinical psychology, and I'm in my third year at Penn State getting my PhD in clinical psychology.
Right. So I'm afraid of what I say is going to get analyzed, and I'll get a report in my email with what's my next step that I should do to overcome this issue.
Well, luckily for you, I didn't have you fill out a symptom measure before this, and I spent a long day doing therapy. So I'm ready to do a different kind of therapy, and
Can you prescribe medication?
I cannot.
Okay.
That's the psychiatrist. That's the difference, right?
That is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, you see on movies and TV that psychiatrists are. It's funny because they're held up as the medical professional, and yet they're doing therapy, which they don't get trained to do. Typically, psychiatrists go to med school and they get about a semester of doing therapy. And when I'm done, I'll probably have done therapy training for about 7 years of seeing clients in various different domains and doing different techniques and doing different modalities of therapy. So it's funny that they get portrayed that way, and we get swept under the rug, but that's okay. That's just my little soapbox.
Well, the psychiatrist I know and love is the one on 2.5 Men, and Charlie even said that the other day, you know, can you prescribe medicine? And she goes, yes, I'm a psychiatrist. I am a doctor that can prescribe. So
Yeah.
There you go. So a nice shot at me, but that's okay. I have fundamental issues with overprescription of medicine. So we'll leave that for another diatribe on an episode where we're not wasting your time. But Kyle was mentioning that this is a great follow up to our conversation last week with Ryan McDowell about the pandemic and this pandemic season that we're entering, and we quickly realized that the impact was maybe even more than we thought and extends really deep into the college game. There has been news this week about the Big Ten and maybe the Pac-12 kind of returning. So that maybe
peer pressure.
Yeah, that maybe changes some of the conversation, but I still think it's so up in the air when it's changing on a weekly basis that it's important for us to kind of just step back and reflect on what we're bringing to the table, because we don't know how this season's going to play out. And so, but what we can know and strategize for is how we're going to react in these various circumstances.
Well, the great adage of if a tree falls in the forest, can you hear it? That's kind of the Pac-12 joining this fray, right?
Yeah, it's like the only thing they're good for is that
tree.
late night game when all the other games are done and you still want to watch football.
And you go, oh, there's still a game on. It's on purple fields and stuff, but it's okay. We'll watch this.
I am an SEC biased college football fan. My team is the Arkansas Razorbacks. I'm originally from Vermont.
See that.
And I moved to Texas in 2005. And my territory that I covered at that time was Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and North Louisiana. And I was a free agent. I love sports. I've loved sports since I was just a little kid. And none of the rest of my family loved. So I don't know how I did fall in love with sports. None of my family liked sports. They wouldn't even watch it. We only had 2 channels on TV back then. I grew up in the 60s and 70s, and there was not a lot of channels to pick from. And it was a little 13-inch black and white with, nothing but, you had to put aluminum foil on the rabbit ears just to try to get a picture.
Yep.
Nothing like the high def that we have now. We're spoiled, I tell you.
Oh, man.
Anyway.
Well, I was going to say, if you had been exposed to sports, you might have chosen a different university route for. But
come on, it ties her roots to the Dallas Cowboys.
So there wasn't really much in Vermont for D1 football, baseball, or basketball, and I love all 3 sports fairly equally, and hockey's in there as well. So when I moved down to Texas in 2005, I was a free agent looking for a college team to support. I really did not like LSU. I looked at Texas Tech, Texas A&M, nope. Oklahoma State, nope. I fell in love with the Razorbacks, baseball, basketball, and football. Even though they aren't the best, they have a heck of a baseball program, but their football program has struggled for years. I'm a diehard Razorback fan since 2005.
All right.
Well, that's pretty fun. I'm an Oklahoma grad, and I went to Oklahoma, and it was kind of similar. Like I treaded water and checked out all the different Texas schools, and having graduated here in Texas, I could have gotten into a lot of the Texas schools. But we all have the different things that hit us. And I tell you, I got to that campus and, went to a football game, and we were terrible at the time, and we beat, I believe it was Air Force, and it was an awful football game, and the stands were going nuts every time we got a first down. Like I kind of like this vibe. It's not the same anymore now that we got good for a while, because we went through that bad decade. But now that we're good again, it's like people are like, yeah, another first down. We're used to that.
So you've probably heard this before. How do we know that Oklahoma sucks?
Because Texas is still attached to the
it's
continent.
the only thing keeping Texas from falling in the Gulf.
There's other jokes there that I know on the other side of that, and I can't think of any of them right now.
Yeah.
I'll dub those in later.
He's blocked them out of his memory.
One of my favorite one is when my buddies just joke around about Oklahoma, and they what was the term that they use? Moblahoma. Yeah, they made like a shirt instead of the state of Oklahoma being part of it. They made a mobile home on there. It was really pretty funny. And,
That's cool.
Yeah, I'll take my ribbons when I need them.
Katie, I have to ask, do you remember in the probably fall of 2009 to 2013 range at Arkansas, a running back up to Nile Davis named Ronnie Wingo?
Nile was the one. The name sounds kind of familiar.
He broke off a couple nice, like 50, 60-yard TD runs, one in a bowl game, I think. But he was in my class in high school. He's from St. Louis, and
cool.
That's my claim to Arkansas fame. That and former Missouri basketball coach Mike Anderson.
2 days ago, Jonathan Williams liked one of the tweets that I had.
There you go.
Nice.
So that's cool. And Cheyenne O'Grady is constantly liking tweets that I put up there too. So that's cool.
All right. Well, I'm going to steer us back into the conversation. We're going to talk Devy before we go too deep into that. We'll go into that, and then we'll do our hot cushion segment that is catching fire on Twitter. And then
Kyle told me that you guys were going to put me on the hot seat.
We always do. And then I've got a little exercise prepared for us that we'll get into. But why don't we just jump into our topic? So these are really unique circumstances that, we're entering into this football season, and so much is still up in the air. And, just recently, the Big Ten and the Pac-12 have opted back in. And so, things are changing almost on a daily basis. But Katie, what's your reaction or what's your general perspective on the impact of this incoming season?
Well, it's multifold. For the guys that are opting out, my biggest concern for them, besides that they're not going to play, I mean, sure, when they play, they risk injury, but they're risking injury. They're going to be practicing. They're going to be hopefully working out. And that will be the big separation. Who's lazy and lets it get away from them a little bit? There's so much time on their hands. Who's going to end up getting in trouble? Somebody's going to do something stupid that they just wouldn't have the time for if they were in school playing football, just too busy to get in trouble. And I know that trouble finds guys sometimes, or, the reverse, but there's just so much time on their hands that I'm hoping they're using this time to continue their work, to get ready, especially if they've got aspirations and have already declared that they're going to the NFL this coming spring. And that's the big thing that separates college from the NFL is it's no longer a game. Yes, it's a game, but it's now their job. And if they don't know how to work, if they can't put forth that effort every day, they're not going to make it in the NFL most of the time, no matter how talented they are. It takes not just talent. It takes some luck, being in the right place at the right time, but the work ethic is huge. And then, from the perspective of the guys that are staying in school and are playing, they do have the opportunity to be in front of scouts, to be in front of the limelight. And just like in Dynasty Fantasy Football, what have you done for me lately? And if you're out of sight, you're out of mind, even if you're great, there's still, even with scouts, there's some of that, well, we haven't seen what he could have done this year. So to them, the other guys may have a chance to catch up and maybe even surpass.
Well, and that kind of brings me up to a question like, okay, so we talked about some of our college football teams a little bit ago, and I mentioned Oklahoma, and I know that over 20 players weren't involved in the first game for Oklahoma. We're playing a team that's not normally known to compete, and they're not even good at the FCS level. So you expect a trouncing, but you get to see all these players in a trouncing, or you get to see the players that are highlighted, like a Spencer Rattler, who puts up record numbers in the first quarter, literally, one of the first record-breaking games under the new regime here with Lincoln Riley. So when you have something like that in a season like now, where we know 20 players were gone from OU, and the team that we're playing probably had some of the similar issues. Not really sure on those numbers because I don't follow the other teams like that, but I know that we're missing so many people. So, how do you look at that? And when you take the season and you see that one game they may look better than another, but half the players on the line are missing, or the running backs were 3 deep and now it's one running back and they're having wide receivers play running back.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like any other game. You've got to look at the film. You've got to look at what are they doing? What are they doing to get open if they're a wide receiver? And the hardest part, I think, that a lot of us have when we look at college, everybody looks great, especially when you're a big team playing a small team.
Yeah.
You're a big wide receiver playing a little guy. Not all guys in the NFL are small and slow, and you could look like the fastest guy. So you've got to take a look at what they're doing, compare it to the next game film, and then just keep on going. It really doesn't matter who they're playing. If they've got the technique, if they're a good route runner, that's going to show up on film. If they're in the right position, if they're blocking, if they're doing the things that they should do, they're going to do that whether there's 20 guys missing or not. Mm-hmm. Now, it's true, you're not going to get to see the guys that aren't there. Mm-hmm. And that's going to minimize the looks and how often that you can see. But a lot of the stats that you're going to look for, you're looking at averages. You're not necessarily looking at season long. So if a guy puts up 600 yards and you expected him to put up 1,500 yards, there's got to be some extenuating circumstance, and that's the answer. But if they're 18.1 yards per catch? That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. So I'll pose one more question here before Jeremy jumps in with one. When you have that situation, what if you've got a guy that is in there for 2 weeks, but he was kind of tweaked, and then he plays a game or two, and then COVID, and then now he's out for 2? Like, you get these small sample size, but that film in 2019 was impeccable, and everything you saw on film for 2020 is garbage. And the guy's just, there's no continuity between when he played. Do you think you'll find yourself leaning more towards the 2019 film, or is this something that you're going to give a pass to or not a pass to?
It depends on the player. It's going to depend on the player and the situation. Each one is going to be a little bit different. But just like any injury, you've got to take that with a grain of salt. And I wouldn't necessarily give them a free pass, but you're going to give them that asterisk. And just like this whole season, they're not going to play a full season. They're not even going to play full competition. There's going to be an asterisk on this season, right, no matter what. Mm-hmm. But at least we're getting to see them compared to the guys that are opting out that we aren't even going to get to see. And that's going to affect rookie drafts in Dynasty too. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people that don't start scouting rookies until the NFL Combine. And so for them, they're not missing out on this. But there are a lot of other people that do their scouting every Saturday, watching, Thursday night and Saturdays, watching college football, and out of sight, out of mind. Other guys will mysteriously move up in ranks. I don't do rankings. So for me, it's not as just it's this or it's not kind of thing.
Yeah. And I think what's interesting about players that are opting out is that it's not, expected to be a lot of the, 5th, 6th, 7th round guys that are opting out. It's the guys that are fairly secure or feeling secure in their spot, whether it be a 1st or 2nd round grade. And so I think that, to your point, it's going to be very interesting upon rookie drafts when, where are these guys going to land? Like, is the NFL going to like that they're in quote unquote bubble wrap, which I don't love because, I know that they can get injured training. We see Brian Edwards, we see Corey Davis, like these guys get injured, running and sprinting and doing cuts and things like that and just lifting. So, I think what's interesting though is we've talked about breakout age and how that might be impacted. With the Big Ten and Pac-12 coming in, it might not be as much, and there's, not a ton of opt-outs, but I think that those players leaving early or opting out early of this season, provides an opportunity for other players that may not have seen the field. You think of LSU, there's going to be another receiver on there that's going to get a larger target share than they were expecting. That's going to impact an earlier breakout for someone there.
Mm-hmm.
And would that have happened? Would they have, you can say, well, that would have happened anyway. Well, I don't know. What would it have been to the degree? Like, is that going to be an inflated breakout age? And I'm wondering, do you even care about breakout age as well? So,
okay. Right. So breakout age is a factor of the age, but also the dominator rating, how much of their own offense that they are providing. And let's use Joe Ngata from Clemson, for example. Joe Ngata is a sophomore. He's 19 years old. And I think this is going to be his true breakout season. Now, is that aided by the fact that Justin Ross isn't there? 100%. But if he does dominate at 19 years old at wide receiver X for Clemson, he gets all the credit in the world because he did it.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing can take that away from him. But if somebody broke out and then opted out, it's going to affect them less. But the guys that haven't broken out yet and are opting out, they're the ones that will get hurt the most.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, when you extrapolate it into the NFL, we don't penalize, a guy that has an injury on his depth chart and he, has a superb season his rookie year. We take the circumstances that are presented to the person. And, I think we maybe too often take the players that we want to break out or we want to have those rookie seasons or those, early breakouts in college and create excuses for them based on the depth chart around them, which of course it impacts it. But, I think it's an interesting exercise going the other way with these spots opening up potentially.
Well, it's kind of like also blaming the quarterback. Oh, well, he had a really bad quarterback. That's why he never broke out. Oh, really? So then why did his partner, who's on the other side lining up across from him, succeed with that same quarterback, but Donovan Peoples-Jones didn't?
Right.
Donovan Peoples-Jones was a 5-star stud coming out of Cass Tech and ended up doing nothing. And I really sincerely doubt that he'll do anything in the NFL.
Right.
But Nico Collins did all right with Shea Patterson. So you can't really use the excuse for one if somebody else is doing all right.
Yeah, if you want to make that excuse, Allen Robinson is waiting on line one because he is the ultimate weed growing through, well, not weed, flower, if you will, growing from the cracks in the cement.
Yeah.
So, when we have these things, we're talking about breakout age and we're talking about the scouting in general. That's one of the things, right? So we have a process, and it's great that now we have these two other conferences looking to come in, but the rules that the Big Ten put in, they could just as easily fold after 3 weeks as continue, because they can't have any failed tests and 5% and so on. I mean, there's so many rules, it's almost inevitable that at least one of the teams is going to completely bail out.
These are still, after all, college students.
Right. Well, and I mean, K-State had that problem at the beginning of the year. Like, they brought a bunch of kids in, and then, 2 of the guys came in late. They had done their test, but they hadn't been to a workout yet. And then everybody went to a party. Those 2 already had COVID. Boom, 30 people have COVID.
That already happened at Rutgers, right? They had a football party in that
Memphis too.
Shut it down. Yeah.
I mean, there's so many schools you can look at. I mean, I don't know about you, but I had fun at my college parties. Like, I don't know that I would be that far pressed from doing exactly what those guys are doing and gals are doing. I mean, it's part of it. But we're going to have these entire blips in the radar where I think all of us are not going to be able to look at our normal routines, unless there's somebody like you who, Katie, you pay a lot more attention to film than I think most people do. That's what I did a lot when I was in college, and a few years after college is, man, I watched every game I could get my eyes on, and you learn so much more from that. And when you hear the pundits try to tell you that this guy's great, like, well, yeah, but did you watch him against the only good teams he played? He was awful. Mike or Williams there from University of Texas, who eventually the Cowboys traded for, and that was awful awful 2 first-round picks or whatever we gave up for him.
Yeah.
We've had enough Cowboys talk on this.
Right? Sorry.
Yeah.
There'll be more.
The thing that I love most about Debbie, and this gets into just overall psychology, which I think will fit in great with what you guys do, but we measure their height, we measure their weight, we measure their 40 time, we measure, are they a great route runner, and what do they do against zone defense, and what do they do when it's man to man, and all these things, and what school are they going to? But the one thing that we don't measure, and I try to measure every prospect, every Debbie prospect I look at, when I've got 2 or 3 that I'm looking at and it's my turn to draft, I will go back and not just watch their film one more time, but I will listen to an interview, read what I can about the player. I'm looking for their heart. I'm the heartometer. And that's one metric that, teams, it's an understated thing because, as I mentioned earlier, when they get to the NFL, this now becomes their job. And it's no longer a game. You want guys that are going to be able to work. Now, yes, there's guys that are 4-star stud athletes that make it just for the sheer athleticism and brute strength that they have, and they're Richard heads. They're the biggest pieces of crap in the whole world, but yet they're physically blessed. But then there's other guys like a Cooper Kupp, who has such a great work ethic. He was a 3-star athlete in a small school, and his father played football, his grandfather played football, he had the lineage. But you listen to any interviews, he was one of my big hits in Debbie, getting him really late in drafts because nobody'd ever heard of him. And I just started listening to interviews. A couple that are out there now, Joe Ngata, I mentioned him from Clemson, and his family came over from Africa when, before they were even born. Both parents went to the same college. They ended up falling in love and getting married, but they both have college degrees. They wanted college degrees for their 3 sons. They are the American dream. They instilled a good work ethic. And not only is he a big boy, 6'3", 215 pounds, he has all the measurables, but he has that work ethic. Tamorian Terry, I know a lot of people are down on him because this week he dropped a really big catch that he should have had, and yes, he should have had it, but that guy is from nowhere, Georgia, and he's, when everybody else was off at football camp, this kid was working the farm, trying to make money so that he could buy shoes for himself, to put shoes on his feet. And that's why he was a 3-star, that and his grades. So you got to look a little bit behind the mask. Who are these kids? And I scout that as much, if not more. That means the tipping point between a player. And the nice thing is they're usually cheap guys that you can get in the 6th round of Debbie. But every single Debbie pick that you have, you've got to take it seriously because you can hit from anywhere, just like Steph Curry.
Yeah, I like that a lot, and I like that kind of peeling behind the curtain of your process and that kind of key factor for you. I want to ask then, kind of extending that, since you have these players that you discovered that a lot of people are off, does that lead you then to, when they make it to the pros and they continue on, does that lead you to kind of, have a little special place on your roster for them for a long time, and you're maybe more willing to go with the ups and downs of them because you've had them since you were the first one on them, or you knew their story? How do you think that you play Dynasty with some of these guys that you have a particular attachment to early on?
I like money. I'm good at Dynasty fantasy football because I am all right with cutting bait or making a trade on even a guy that I've scouted since he was young. And I may like their story, but if they're getting hype and I can flip them for somebody that's a veteran that's already on a team that's starting to lose value, but I still have faith that they'll turn it around, dang it, every time. And I'll probably get a chance to buy them back at some point in their career. And I'm in enough teams where I probably still own them in several. But you got to be a little bit pragmatic about the whole thing, realistic about the whole thing. like hit rate. What is a Devy hit? Is it somebody that you buy in the 6th round and at some point when they get hyped, you're able to sell them for something viable on your team? So for example, last year, Jamie Newman was starting to get hyped to be the quarterback at Georgia. And I got him in a Devy draft and I got him late. Like 2 days later, somebody offered me a trade for him and I ended up flipping him for Teddy Bridgewater. It's a super flex. It's a super flex league, but I also got I got more. And then Jamie Newman ended up opting out. I didn't know that at the time when I did the trade, I had no idea that he was going to opt out. This was months and months ago. But the whole point is, as much as I like Jamie Newman and thought that, hey, good chance he's going to be the starter at Georgia this year in the SEC, I was fine with flip him quick and make a good profit. And now I've got a guy that's maybe not the sexiest of quarterbacks in the NFL, but he's a quarterback in the NFL putting up points on my fantasy team.
Looked all right week 1.
Yeah, he sure did.
I have to highlight the fact that, that key component for you is heart, whether it be the heart of those guys and their motivation or your cold, money-hungry heart.
I'm a cold-hearted bitch. That's right. You could say it.
It's all heart, one way or the other.
Somebody's heart and somebody's heartless. So we end up in a situation there where you've got these players and you're trying to make a decision. I kind of like that with, like, for me, with the quarterbacks, I pay more attention to their wins in big games than pretty much any of the stats. And it's not perfect, but like, that's something I like. I like to watch these quarterbacks in the college ranks like Dak Prescott, who go into a big game undermanned and win. When they can drag their team not close, not to get a bunch of stats, they win the game. And so there are these little hidden things that you only get from watching the games. And there are great stats and they can't be discounted. The breakout age and those things, they have a lot of merit. But in the end, the difference between this breakout age guy and this breakout age guy, like if you know the players, you can sometimes look at them and go, this is apples and oranges. It's not the same.
So I'm going to ask you guys a few questions. For me, anybody that's listened to Under the Helmet and they listen to my Devy, the premium Devy shows, they know that I avoid quarterbacks in Devy, even in Superflex, unless I already have a taxi squad that's filled with running backs. Running backs are about a 35% hit rate from my research. Wide receivers are more like 23%. Tight ends are closer to 12%. Quarterbacks are about a 6% hit rate. So rather than try to buy a whole bunch of Devy quarterbacks that look great, and they do, because let's face it, but the average is only 2 quarterbacks per year make it in any given class. Mm-hmm. And so unless you're willing to flip quick for a profit once they start getting hyped, and there is a few exceptions, and one of them is Spencer Rattler. He's been somebody that I've been scooping up for the last 2 years, putting him on the back part of my roster in Superflex because he has not only a big arm, but that attitude that goes with it. And yes, if you watch the QB1, he's at times very immature, but he was a high school kid. I think that he will mature. I don't think that's going to be something that kills him. His parents are very well grounded and they keep him very well grounded. I don't know if you know much about him, but he is a good kid at heart. He is a very natural, and what he did this past weekend was not a surprise to me. I've been waiting for the Rattler season forever. But anyway, so a lot of people, they're like, well, if you don't draft Devy quarterbacks, you're not going to get any. It's Superflex. You got to draft them. You got to get them. These 5-star guys, you want to have the stud. Otherwise, you're going to pay through the teeth. And it's like, oh, really? Okay. So DLF has Superflex Dynasty rankings in the first round of a startup draft. The top 12. I want you to guess first. I don't care who goes first. How many 5-star players in the top 12 of DLF Superflex ADP. So that includes McCaffrey, Mahomes, Jackson, Barkley, Michael Thomas, Deshaun Watson, Alvin Kamara, Devontae Adams, Russell Wilson, Zeke Elliott, and DeAndre Hopkins. How many of those were 5-star in college?
I'm going to go 3.
Jeremy?
I'm going to say 1.
0.
Wow.
Thought maybe Deshaun Watson. I know like Zeke wasn't, he's from St. Louis, but
Right.
0. And
yeah, that's crazy.
how many 2-stars in that top 12?
I know a couple of them offhand. So, yeah, I mean, I think you go with what? Maybe it's probably about half of them. I'd say 6.
I'm going to
6
say
are 2-stars?
3.
Yes.
3.
I'm going big.
3.
There's only 1 2-star. Okay. But 3-star, there's 5. There's 5
So it's
that
all
are
there.
5 that are 3-star and 6 that are 4-star, but 0 5-stars and even 1 2-star. So
Right.
Who's the
Okay.
2? Saquon?
no, the 2 is Devontae Adams, Fresno State, and the 3-stars. All right, you ready for this? Patrick Mahomes, 3-star, Texas Tech, and Lamar Jackson, the number 2 in the ADP, 3-star, Louisville. And number 3 overall, Christian McCaffrey was a 4-star. Saquon Barkley was a 4-star. Michael Thomas, a 3-star. Deshaun Watson, a 4. Dak Prescott, 3-star. And Alvin Kamara, 4-star. And Alvin Kamara couldn't even find a starting lineup. He went from Alabama
Transfer.
to Tennessee and sat behind Jalen Hurd for the most part. And so these guys, you know, Ezekiel Elliott was a 4-star and DeAndre Hopkins was a 4-star. That's the top 12 of Dynasty ADP right now. And you're telling me that Joe Burrow, who hadn't even played an NFL game, and he's in the top 36 of ADP just because of his name being the number 1 overall pick. Look at Baker Mayfield, number 1 overall pick. Where is he in ADP right now? Tell me you can't buy low on Baker Mayfield right now. And what's
I
the
sold
difference?
high. I sold so high on Baker.
I said, I don't know where he is, but higher than he's going to be.
Right.
Right. And so you, in the second round, you finally get into the second round, and there's 4 5-star, and these are 5-star coming out of high school going into college. So a lot changes in that time. Being a 5-star athlete, that can't be your only scouting for Debbie. And so even the guys that are 5-star in the second round, Kyler Murray was a 5-star, but he wasn't a big Debbie guy because he had a baseball contract. And a lot of people forget, plus he's a little bit undersized. Juju Smith-Schuster was a 5-star, but he was an athlete, 5-star, but still he was a 5-star. Dalvin Cook was 5, and Nick Chubb. And then you got DJ Moore, 3-star, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 3-star. Mike Evans was a 3-star. Jonathan Taylor was a 3-star. And Tyreek Hill was a 0-star.
Yep.
He went to JUCO because of all the problems that he was having before he went to Oklahoma State.
Okie light.
Right? So, yes, scouts get things wrong. And if you expect people that aren't scouts and they're Debbie fantasy football players, there's going to be a lot of guys that don't even want to take Debbie picks. They know that the hit rate is atrociously low. They'd rather have the veterans. That's cool. And you've got to use that to your advantage in both directions, because there's times when you want to get the veterans, and then there's times when you want to build your taxi squad and keep it chock full of the best talent that you can.
See, and I kind of like this last year, I did a new Debbie draft, and I did take a quarterback in that one in Justin Fields because of how that ended up being something that would fit with my team, because I was already so deep at quarterback. If I hit with that Justin Fields, it's like, man, I can trade any of the guys I currently have or him for something of value. So yeah, you've got the ability to make those trades. But yeah, in the end, you're right. The hit rate is so much higher on running backs, and you can hit a running back that's a 3-star, 4-star, 2-star. They can come from anywhere. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a great example. I mean, he's undersized, and look at him go, man. He was great in week 1.
And there's always guys that slip through the cracks. Carson Wentz was never a Debbie prospect. He was the 101 in the rookie draft the following year that he came out. And same thing with guys like Dak Prescott. Even Patrick Mahomes, the year that he came out, him and Lamar Jackson, you had Deshaun Watson and Mitch Trubisky. Trubisky went before any of them. And so if you took Trubisky as your 101 rookie because it's super flex and he was the top of the heap, you could have got Pat Mahomes a couple picks later. You could have got Lamar Jackson probably by the end of the first round. And people are afraid, well, what if I miss out on having the stud quarterback? Even guys like Marcus Mariota and Jameis Winston that were 1 and 2 overall. I mean, again, they're good for fantasy for a couple of years, but until they sign that second contract, there's nothing. I'd rather have the guys that people are throwing away. The guys like Matt Stafford or Phillip Rivers that are, you know, everybody's like, they're too old. They're too old. It's like, okay, well, give me Phillip Rivers plus, and then restock your cupboard. And eventually you'll have a chance to buy low on them again at some point.
Hashtag old man QB.
That's right.
That is me.
Yeah, Jeremy likes to play his super flex without taking any quarterbacks early. I like to have a couple of studs, and then when everybody else, because of the way I draft, and I tend to fill in the middle.
Okay, so define a stud.
I like to have a multi-talented quarterback that runs and passes, so somebody who can earn me their points.
So Jameis Winston was in the first round of startup drafts. That's not a guy that I'm going to take. Baker Mayfield was a stud just a couple years ago.
Kyle only thinks about Dak Prescott.
Dak Prescott.
He only thinks about Dak Prescott / Cowboys. So
yeah, Dak Prescott's one of them. Deshaun Watson's one of them.
That conveniently fits a Cowboy.
You know, like I tend to like the one. Like I love Lamar Jackson.
Okay, but somebody that's done it for a few years at least, like Russell Wilson is starting to get less sexy. But Russell Wilson puts up as many starter. You talk about wins over replacement, or, you know, where are these guys? Top 5 weeks versus top 12 weeks, and in Superflex, top 24 weeks. If you got a quarterback that has as many top 12 weeks as top 24 weeks, that's a QB1 for your Superflex team. And that's a guy like Russell Wilson. And Russell Wilson's price tag, you could trade Lamar Jackson for Russell Wilson plus Jonathan Taylor plus maybe something else thrown on top.
I want to do that.
I would argue that Russell Wilson, since he's gotten married, is more sexy.
He's probably, I don't know. I'm not going to comment on that one.
That was an abstinence joke.
Yeah.
All right. So we have had a pretty good discussion here, but now it's time for me to scoot on down to the other end of the couch, and you can take my place on the hot cushion, Katie.
Is this today, the come hither, come sit on this side of the couch, Katie?
You know, don't ask why the cushion's warm, but it's warm. So today I'm going to discuss your fantasy football footprint and follow that up with some questions. So please keep in mind, I'm going to be very direct, to the point, and brutally honest. And the questions are not necessarily going to be easy. Is that okay?
You have my consent.
Perfect. Before we get into the meat of this potato, I'd like to ask just a few things about you. So if you had to choose a Devy player that is coming up from the freshman ranks right now, who is the one that you would choose for us as a highlight player?
Freshman, I would say Tank Bigsby out of Auburn. I like his size. He's in the SEC. I do have the SEC bias, and he just seems to me like he's going to be dynamic. It would have been Marshawn Lloyd, but he just got hurt and is out for the season. I really like Marshawn Lloyd a lot, and now that he has been hurt, you can probably get him a lot cheaper. But I'll go with Bigsby.
Bigsby was going to be a part of our exercise later, but I don't think he has a Twitter. You'll find out why.
But he makes my heart pitter patter.
All right, Katie, my second question in this intro series: whereabouts do you live in this world?
I live about an hour east of you, Kyle. I am just north of Dallas, Texas.
Fantastic. And yep, I'm over there closer to
Fort Worth. And a long way away from Jeremy.
Jeremy, we're a few more minutes away.
I keep moving further east and further north a little bit away.
Norther, further
More
norther.
norther. Yeah.
Okay, so obviously you have been playing Devy fantasy football a long time. What is one of your claim to fame players that you picked before everybody else? We mentioned a few of these before the show that turned out to be an NFL all-star caliber type player.
Kenny Golladay. He also went to a small school. I think it was Eastern Illinois or someplace in Illinois. And I got him really, really late in a couple of drafts. I just liked his size and his work ethic and everything about him.
I think it was Northern Illinois, and
Northern. Okay, I knew the Illinois part.
NIU's actually produced some pretty good football programs here in the last decade. Respectable team. So I haven't been playing Devy as long. One of my favorite ones was CeeDee Lamb. So I got to watch him as he played behind several other receivers at Oklahoma. He wasn't the surefire number one for several years with Marquise Brown. So it was kind of fun to see him pan out to be what he is.
Again, happens to be a Cowboy.
Do you, from the UTH podcast, do you remember who was my first ever Devy player that I ever took?
I'm trying to remember if I can't think of it offhand.
I'm a girly girl.
When did you
I'm
start?
A girly girl.
Oh, girly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because I watched it again. SEC bias. I watch a lot of the Arkansas Razorback games, but my buddy that lives just down the street, my poker buddy and fishing buddy, he loves the Georgia Bulldogs, so he watches the Razorbacks with me, and I watch the Bulldogs with him. And I fell in love with Todd Gurley from early on. I was a girly girl early.
Girly girl. My heart being a St. Louis Ram before they took that heart and threw it on the ground and stepped on it.
Yeah.
All right, question number 4. I'm a beer guy, but I dabble in whiskey from time to time. What is your favorite fermentable used in the sour mash?
I am the diva of Devy, and I've also been called the queen of Devy, and the queen needs a crown. I really love Crown Royal, and that's on my Twitter graphics. By the way, Dynasty Evan did my graphics for me. My little awesome. Yeah, it looks great. It's got a Razorback on one side, a Crown Royal bottle on the other, and then bandana because he didn't want to make it look too girly. And so yeah, Crown Royal.
So Crown Royal is the drink. And
if you wanted to make it a little more girly, you could put a picture of Todd in there as well.
All right, so I tend to like the scotches of the whiskeys. I'm kind of a purist, so I like the pure barley.
If I'm going for scotch, it's Macallan.
I've got a few bottles of that. It's good stuff.
You gonna bring some?
I will definitely bring some goodies.
I've got some whiskey in my cabinet, different varieties, and I've got a well-stocked liquor cabinet.
Well, we're going to enjoy that, and we're going to put a dent in it, so that'll be fun. But The final introduction question is, what is your least favorite thing about fantasy cricket?
I would say it's the wickets, because you got the ball bounces, and then you got to slam it, and then you got to get it through that stupid little wicket, and points per wicket. It's just too out there, like it's not reliable, and there's not enough good players, studs. I try to fade the center fielder, but the longshoreman is always a good bet, but
I hate that you can only start 2 wicket keepers. That pisses me off.
I mean, if you're in Boston, that's wicked good, but
this is awesome. Just zero hesitation answering the question. Incredible. I'm gonna award you the first half point in the introductory question.
Oh, she gets a half point before we start. All right.
Literally, she was not thrown off at all, and it was incredible. I will say though, my least favorite part about fantasy cricket is wearing the white hockey pads, but not being able to stack them. Lay down and stack them and stop the ball. Right. That's the best part of being a goalie in hockey is stacking the pads. You can't do that in cricket.
Stacking the pads is fun, man. Stacking the pads, but the old flash of the glove is still the best thing in the world.
We had a flopper goalie when I was coaching Pee Wee hockey, and he always let it go through the 5-hole.
Stack those pads.
I don't like 5-hole goals.
Like Patrick Roy from Montreal back in the 80s.
Yeah, he was crazy.
Yeah.
All right. So now it's time for my hard-hitting analysis and drama-laden questions. Are you ready?
Go for it.
Katie, your contributions to increasing my skill and awareness of Devi has been much appreciated. Recently dubbed the Diva of Devi, it is fitting for someone with so much skill in that area. Many people are unaware Devi is an acronym for Demonstrative Efforts Valuing Youth and was coined by Bill Gates in the late 1970s. There were attempts by the U.S. government to have mandatory Devi drafts of 18-year-olds, resulting in many young adults moving to Canada to dodge those drafts. There is no current cure for COVID in 2020 or the Black Death in 1453. Speaking of, what was the world's principal Christian city affected heavily by the Black Death that fell in the year 1453?
Rome.
It was Constantinople.
I knew that one.
Istanbul.
But that's
Istanbul
nobody's
was
business but the Turks.
Yep, that's right. There's a good song. That's a good song.
That's the first hot cushion question I got right.
All right. Well, it was a good try, and Rome was a big city at the time. So, question
It
number
wasn't
2.
built in a day, though.
It wasn't. It took a lot longer, like 2 days.
When in Constantinople.
So
Yeah, when in Constantinople, do what the...
Sorry, Katie. You enjoy gardening, which is a pastime that often bears fruit. My wife, Megan, is a gardener, and I am an eater and builder, so we pair up well. Eno Kamosi also enjoys the garden, as told in his hit song, Here Comes the Hot Pepper. Our chickens lay eggs, but if they get in the garden, they won't lay off the eggplant. Some plants get so tall, I say, oh crap, that's a huge sunflower. I say tomato, and you say tomato, so we have that in common. Often during my hot cushion questions, I plant a seed into our guest's mind to see if it flowers into a funny moment. I doubt I could make a pun with the vegetable kohlrabi, so what is the vegetable chewed up and spit out to ferment and make the beverage chicha?
Well, you want me to say okra, I know, because that was your oh crap moment. I'm going to say hops.
It is corn. So, yes, in Africa and I believe some countries there in South America, they chew up the corn, spit it into a big old container, ends up fermenting naturally from the juices in their mouth, and it is gross. So, question?
Yeah, that would be great for COVID-19 right now. Just
right? Just give everybody a spit shower. It's pretty good.
Right?
You already have a half a point, so you're killing it. You're doing better than most people. Question number 3. The Dallas Cowboys are a franchise that is well known for having an owner that is a media presence. Well-known players such as number 17, Don Meredith, bring long-standing history. Coach Belichick for the New England Patriots is known for his terse nature with the same media. Unfortunately, the number 17 was donned not by Meredith, but rather by draft flops such as Aaron Dobson, who played with New England in 2017. Throughout the years, there has been talk of 2 of these people combining forces. I know I have heard it at least 17 times. CeeDee Lamb was taken in the first round of the 2020 NFL Draft after a fortuitous slide back into the draft to spot 17. At spot 17 in the 2011 NFL Draft, who was the falling star taken by the New England Patriots?
I'm sorry, I missed. You said at where again?
I said at spot 17 in the 2011 NFL Draft, who was the falling star taken by the New England Patriots?
Rob Gronkowski.
Would be Nate Solder, left tackle. Nate Solder.
Yep. Good guy. Good guy.
Yeah, and good second contract that he got over there, well deserved.
Yes.
All right.
I was almost going to say Ben Coates, but I didn't think that was right either. But
I'm trying to mix all of the things that you enjoy into throwing you off a little bit in these hot cushion questions, and that brings us to question number 4. Katie, you enjoy cooking, and I will soon get to enjoy that due to a bet in our Katie Tim UTH Fantasy Eliminator. I plan to eat a lot of starches because I'm addicted to spuds. You can flip spuds on the grill if you purchase a spatula from Spatula City, where they sell spatulas, and that's all. Whatever you make, I will open up my mouth and eat it. My daughter eats like she has a hole in her neck because girls just want to have lunch. If you make Mexican food, I just gotta have a tostada, carne asada. That's right, I want the whole enchilada. If I take the food to go, I will take some, save it for later. I will wrap it with aluminum foil. Once I am done with that food, I will just eat Spam in the back of my car, ham and pork. In 1996, Weird Al Yankovic released the album Bad Hair Day, including a song titled Amish Paradise. What is the food mentioned in that song?
I've got it going in my head, and I love Weird Al. In fact, I'd like to write song parodies. Baloney. I know that's not right.
It's butter. Hitching up the buggy, churning lots of butter, raise the bar on Monday, soon I'll raise another. Think you're really righteous? Think you're pure at heart? Well, I know I'm a million times as humble as thou art. All right. Well, if you didn't catch that, every one of those lyrics or every one of those lines in that entire question was a lyric from a Weird Al song about food. Well, Katie, thank you for your time. I appreciate your candid and truthful answers and my insightful and hard-hitting analysis. You do have a half a point on the hot cushion. You have beaten the only person who never got a point, which is Edwin Porras. So good for you. You're tied with, basically tied for third.
Great. Awesome.
Poor Edwin. He would have shot up the leaderboard if he would have just said that injury prone is a thing or whatever. Whatever your bait was.
I tried to force him to say injury prone is real.
Yeah.
Even though he's so anti-injury prone.
As a doctor of physical therapy, he does not want to say that. So that's Kyle for you. He'll make you squirm and make you try and take trips down the wrong road. But you held your own there and did your best. I loved it.
That was awesome.
All right. Well, I'm going to take the reins back. And as I preluded, we have a little game that we're going to play.
I like games.
Yes, and this one hopefully will be fun. So it's time to find your college sweetheart and perfect match on the Debbie dating game.
Oh boy!
We'll have Rich insert the original music there.
Wish I remembered that music.
Yeah, I don't know. I found the song, but I didn't play it. So in this game, our diva of the night will go through a series of clues and have an opportunity to ask questions about our group of eligible bachelors. So first, you're going to get a chance to superficially examine these specimens physically by my description. And then you'll be forced to be even more shallow and eliminate 2 bachelors immediately. Following that, I'm going to have you follow up with any of the remaining bachelors with some questions. However, as always on this game, we are playing for the very first time. Certain questions are off limits, including their age, their school, and their income, assuming that some of these guys are getting paid under the table. You can ask.
So they're not all in college?
They are all in college. You just can't ask where they go to college.
Yeah, because if you ask where they go to college and it's Auburn, then you know that they were high paid.
Yeah, their income's breadcrumbs.
Right.
That's right. If you knew that they went to Oklahoma, then you'd know they're no good. All right, so
they all get paid at Alabama, don't they?
Probably. Okay, so you can ask questions. The 2 questions that you can ask about are related to their favorite sexual position, aka the position that they play, or you can have them whisper sweet nothings to you or even talk dirty to you, aka have one of their tweets read to you. Okay, so those are your 2 options for asking questions about bachelors 1 through 6, or 6 men vying for your heart today. Okay.
So there's 6 bachelors.
Are you writing this down? It looks like you're writing this down, which is awesome.
I am. Yeah.
She's ready.
I'm taking some notes.
That's right. So you can ask those either of the questions to any of the bachelors. So, but you only get 1 question per bachelor. Okay.
Okay.
So you either have to ask their position or their tweet. Okay.
I thought you were going to give a description of each first. No, I
am. I'm going to give their physical description, which will be separate. So you'll have that to start with, and you'll have to eliminate 2 from there. Okay. So you're going to make these selections of your bachelors based on only this information that's being provided to you. And at the end of the game, I hope you and your bachelor are a happy match and you'd go on an all expenses paid trip to a destination of your choice, assuming that you want to keep that match. And
well, I was gonna say before we get started here, I can't ask their age, and so
correct.
I've only been arrested 1 time in my life. I am hoping that you're not going to have somebody that's underage.
They're all 18. They're all 18.
They're all at least consensual, right?
They are they're all of legal breakout age.
Okay. All right. Well, now that we got
don't think that worth it.
Now that we've got that cleared up, I'm ready to go.
Yes, exactly. And the other disclaimer is that the plan is not to murder you. If you have ever heard of Rodney Alcala, I'm a big true crime podcast fan, and he was a serial killer on the dating game. So these guys qualify at this point in their lives that we're aware.
Okay.
Good luck, Katie.
Thank you.
Okay. So let's meet these bachelors and hear about their physique. So bachelor number 1 is 6'1", 215. Okay, so a nice sturdy fella. Bachelor number 2 is 6'2", 225, making that first sturdy fella a little less sturdy. Bachelor number 3 is towering in at 6'4", 200 pounds. Bachelor number 4 is a stockier fellow at 6 foot 208. We have bachelor number 5 at 6'2", 200 pounds. And finally, the tree stump of the group at 5'10", 228.
Ooh, I'm already
Been eating his meat.
Yeah. So one of my
Katie heard that and her alarm went off.
One of my favorite sayings when I scout running backs that are Debbie, I'm looking for that thick steak ass.
How do you know he's a running back?
Yeah,
Well,
she hasn't asked yet.
He's 5'10", 228. I don't even have to ask that question. I can save that question and I can ask.
You can have him talk dirty to you.
Yeah, exactly. Could I have bachelor number 6 talk dirty to me?
She wants to jump right into
I love it.
Number 6.
Get a refill.
All right. Bachelor number 6 tweeted, "Make it make sense, ... I don't know if that does anything for you. Both in the mind or in the heart.
It doesn't necessarily turn me off.
Okay. So you have bachelors 1 through 5 left. Would you like them to talk dirty to you, or would you like to know what their favorite position is?
I would like to go to bachelor number 3 and ask him to talk dirty to me.
All right. Bachelor number 3's tweet was fire emoji, fire emoji, fire emoji.
Okay. And
I'd like your instant analysis on each of these that we read.
let's go to bachelor number 1.
That's a pass. All right, bachelor number 1.
What's your favorite sex position, bachelor number 1?
Bachelor number 1's favorite sex position is running all day at running back.
All right. Okay. And bachelor number 2, I would also like to know, what is your favorite sexual position?
Bachelor number 2's favorite sexual position is playing the quarterback.
Really? Okay.
Yes, I already screwed up these rules because I didn't have you eliminate 2 people after their physique, but that's okay.
Oh, well, I can do that.
You're kind of doing that
4 and
anyway.
5.
You're starting with the guy you're
process of elimination.
Okay.
4 and 5 anyway. So
right.
Get rid of them.
Excellent. They're gone. Would you like to know who you've eliminated before we proceed?
Sure.
Okay. So you just eliminated bachelor number 4, who is Rakeem Jarrett, a wide receiver at Maryland.
And he's a freshman. He's very highly scouted, highly touted.
Yep. And his quote or his tweet was, "Nothing more motivating than seeing dudes with 5 mess that up.
Easy for you to say.
I know. I don't even know if it makes sense. His quote was, "Nothing more motivating than seeing dudes 5 contracts for millions of dollars." And millions of dollars was M's with an apostrophe, ... But
Okay.
I knew what it meant.
I'm glad that I eliminated
She's out on him.
Yeah.
Bachelor number 5 was Keaton Slovis, QB at USC. And
Ooh, that's a pretty good kid.
yeah, it was.
Yeah.
His tweet was, "I'll see you there, deuces emoji."
He ran the next actual quarterback at Georgia out of town.
That's right. And Katie says deuces to Keaton Slovis. All right, so we have 4 remaining bachelors headed into our second and final segment of the program tonight. So now your well, I guess you've been proceeding through that segment. So, you asked about all 4 of them, right? You asked.
I have.
Okay. So
So
now
what's
I'm
the
gonna
next step?
have you eliminate. I'm gonna change the rules midway since we've kind of botched this a little bit. I'm gonna have you
Okay.
eliminate 2 of the bachelors, and we'll go down to just a remaining 2.
Okay, I'm going to eliminate bachelor number 2, the quarterback,
Okay.
and bachelor number 3, the 6'4", 200. That's too skinny for a 6'4" dude. He's probably a wide receiver, and I'm eliminating 2 and 3 and leaving 1 and 6.
Okay. So we'll get to 1 and 6 in a second.
Amon-Ra St. Brown you got rid of?
What's that?
So hope you didn't get rid of Amon-Ra St. Brown.
No, he's smaller than that.
Is he 6'3"?
He's shorter. He's not like Equanimous.
He's a skinny, yeah.
And he doesn't stretch because the St. Browns don't stretch because cheetahs don't stretch. That is a quote from his dad. Anyway, bachelor number 2 was Sam Howell, quarterback, North Carolina.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm going to skip his tweet because it wasn't very good.
He's not my type anyway.
And then you're eliminating the fire emojis of George Pickens, wide receiver, Georgia.
Ooh. And I'm okay with that. I told you he was wide receiver, didn't I?
You did, in fact, and he's too skinny for your preference.
We call him Slim Pickens.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I'm going to add in a clue here and let you make a final decision on your bachelor. I will give you the conference in which these 2 players play. They actually play in separate conferences, so I'll give you them individually. So bachelor number 1, I'll save bachelor number 6, your immediate crush, for last. Bachelor number 1 plays in the Big 12 conference. Okay.
Okay.
And then bachelor number 6 plays in the Big 10 conference.
Okay.
And at this point, these men are thirsty for you, and they are just awaiting your final decision as to which one you want to take.
Which one I want to give my rose to?
That's right.
My flower.
Well, let's do this. Let's do this bachelor/bachelorette style, and let's eliminate.
I don't get to ask any questions or take them into a room and like interrogate them.
You do
watch
not.
any film.
They're behind. You only see the silhouette of these guys. You see a nice, short, stocky silhouette, and then you see one that's a little taller but still built well.
Okay, I've got to go with the bachelor number 6.
Okay, I mean it was love at first kind of sight.
Yeah, I mean 5'10", 228, baby got back.
That's right. Okay, so let's congratulations on your match there. Let's first reveal the loser now that you've chosen. You're sending home a crying Breece Hall, running back, Iowa State.
I like that kid.
He's overrated, but yeah, I'm fine with sending him.
No kind parting words from Katie. And I don't know if you're gonna like this or not. He's not ranked in the DLF top 75 of Debbie, but he was a personal choice of mine because he's behind a current running back here at Penn State, Journey Brown. He is one Noah Kane, who was a top recruit coming in and has that build and has been clamored by us Penn State fans to get the ball more. Though Journey is great, but Noah Kane will have his time and he will shine.
I actually am very thrilled with who I ended up with there, and I am familiar with Noah and his journey to get more playing time.
His journey. There you go. Well, yeah, this was a fun new kind of lighthearted exercise just to see how much we weight some of these things, some of these variables that can certainly change, especially height and weight. Players grow, players pack on pounds or lose pounds if they come in overweight.
Or their colleges just lie.
Yeah,
or they learn to stay off social media and tweet, words instead of emojis, or not tweet at all. But anyway, I'm so happy for you and Mr. Kane. Are you going to, tell us if you'd like to take that that all expenses paid vacation and where you guys will go.
With Kane, I am able to go
Ooh,
with
biblical.
him. Hey.
Love the biblical references.
And yeah, with Noah, we can pair up 2x2.
Oh my gosh,
So-
more biblical references. I love
Well,
this.
you asked for it, so you gotta swing big in the Big Ten.
I like the arc of these jokes.
Yeah, do you? Yeah, we made a covenant and we just could not break it. So
Oh man. So where are you guys going?
I'm gonna go take him to Hawaii.
Hawaii. Excellent
Yeah.
choice. Very relaxing.
Everything's so inexpensive right now, and social distancing on the airplane. We can even join the Mile High Club if we need to.
Oh my.
If we hit it off,
All right, we've made it to the psychological depths of Katie's psyche and her inner desires. So I'm gonna transition us back into a more relaxed conversation before we wrap it up here.
Well, it was definitely interesting to me in that scenario where, to watch how you as a Devi analyst really pieced together that information and almost like, oh, you gave me the biggest qualities I need. You gave me their height and their weight. Like that's what I need. So the rest of it's kind of moot. Oh, it's a quarterback. Yep, you're gone. Like, don't even care who you are. So it was pretty.
5'11", 228. I've already made my decision.
Yep, I'm there.
Yeah.
I know it's a running back, and if it's not, I'm probably screwed anyway. But anyway, let's take the running back. That 5'10", 228 is a great size for the running backs.
yes.
It is. Yep.
And I do have that weakness.
Yeah, I tried to pick guys that weren't at the top of the list. I wanted this to be more Devi. I don't play Devi as I've mentioned at times. So I wanted to pick guys from the 2022 class, guys that we won't hear about for another year. And maybe expose some of our listeners that also don't play Devi to some of these names.
I don't know. Georgia Slim's a pretty big name there, man.
Slim Pickens.
Mm-hmm. Georgia Slim Pickens.
Mm-hmm. Is that his nickname?
We just dubbed it.
Now it
It is here now.
Is now.
I'll tweet at him. Georgia Slim Pickens, fire emoji, fire emoji, fire.
There you go.
Instant block.
And what was Noah talking about when he said make it make sense?
I don't know. A retweet. It was a quote tweet of Adam Schefter. I don't actually know. I'll look it up and I'll send it to you.
That alone makes sense because Schefter, when does he make sense?
Yeah. I don't know what it was about, but we'll leave the listener to search Noah Kane and maybe give him a couple new followers. Well, this was a blast. This went better than I probably even could have expected. I know just about nothing about Devi. I watch college football, but this makes me feel a little bit more comfortable about approaching the Devi conversation and maybe even joining a league with you two here in the future. So, Katie, thanks so much again for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit about where we can find you and find your work?
Sure. First of all, thank you guys very much for having me join. Any of the listeners out there, if you're not in a Devi league, it's not that intimidating. There's more data now than ever before. There's great, besides DLF, there's Devi Watch and Nick Whalen with the Devi Report, and there's a bunch of Devi data on Under the Helmet. There's so many great people that are making it come to life, and it's just, if you like Dynasty fantasy football, yes, it does take patience because you're going to own the guys for a lot longer or have that ability if you have a taxi squad. But don't let it intimidate you. If you want to jump in, just jump in, feet first. You'll have a blast. And it'll bring Saturdays to life, which then brings Sundays to life. But you can find me weekly on the Under the Helmet podcast. Comes out every Wednesday. It's on iTunes and Stitcher Radio. And when I get the opportunity on the premium side, Chad and I like to talk Devi a lot. We do interrogation rooms. We've got a 4-part series coming up on hit rate, some studies that I've been doing, a little bit of what I did with you guys earlier about the ADP and how, if you do draft Devy players, just have expectations that are grounded. You don't want to think every player is going to be a stud. They may be, but and you're certainly trying to find the studs among the chaff, but there's so much fun in just trying to discover that. I'm on Twitter at FF_Skylar399, and I have been guest on several podcasts within the last couple of weeks, Debbie Delight and Bob's Three-Toed
Warriors.
Yeah. I mean, we recorded last night, and plus you guys. So just really appreciate the invite, chance to talk about things that we all love.
Yeah, it's fantastic. We talked about it before, but you've been a name on the list that we'd like to talk to, and
absolutely.
I didn't really give Jeremy a lot of warning about your comic nature and everything. We talked before the show, and I think he figured that out pretty quick. Like, oh, she's gonna roll with this. This is gonna be funny.
The first words out of her mouth were like, "Oh, so Kyle's not here yet."
Yeah,
I was like, "I love this. I love it. This is gonna be awesome."
Right under the bus.
That's right. Well, yeah, this is great. You name dropped a couple people that are also great. Kind of Debbie follows. Nick Whalen was just. He's having a moment right now, and I'm there with him with the Corey Davis breakout tour. It's going to continue on in perpetuity. Kyle, you've mentioned Ray GQ, Ray Garvin.
Mm-hmm.
You guys were on TV early. Just great people in the Devy community. Follow them, whether or not you play Devy. They can really help you scout early in Dynasty.
Yep.
Get those names on your watch list. Know about them early so that you can trade for those maybe back end of first picks or load up on early seconds so that you can get those guys if they have a down senior season or get an injury or something like that. You can scoop them all up because you've been watching them for a while. Katie, thanks so much for joining us. This was just a blast. To our listeners, go follow some of these Devy follows. Also, we've got some cool koozies that we just acquired, and we've been sending around to our guests. We're actually going to be announcing on Twitter that we're going to be giving away some of those to our listeners as well. Just follow us, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you'll be entered into a chance to grab one of those. Follow us at Dynasty Self Help. Follow our producer Rich at Streaming Rich, Kyle at Dogleg Brewer, and I'm at Jared Schwob. We will see you next time.